Hello and thanks for joining your favorite program on TV, Corporate Governance Platform. The program is proudly brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals. And we are transmitting live from MITV, Lagos. I'm Dr. Tunde Odeyemi. Our conversation on this particular special episode is going to be focusing on sound framework for risk management and internal control system. And to lead in the conversation is a very distinguished member of ICSAN, Mr. Bamidele Olalekan Oseni, ACIS. Mr. Oseni is the managing partner, Caleb Consulting Uganda Limited, a firm of risk assurance, financial services, strategy and corporate finance, governance professional and HR consulting services. He has over 25 years experience in banking, fintech, auditing and consulting services with at least 15 years as executive management staff, group banking representative at subsidiary banking board of directors and non-executive director of an NGO. He is a Pan-African and seasoned risk management professional and has provided risk leadership for several banks in the East, West, and Southern Africa to design and implemented a robust enterprise risk management framework and culture that has supported these banks' business growth within the risk appetite thresholds. Mr. Oseni has understanding of banking market and regulatory framework in over 24 African countries in the Eastern, Western, Northern, and Southern African, to mention a few. Mr. Oseni, you are welcome to Corporate Governance Platform.
Thank you, Dr. Odeyemi.
And it's a pleasure to have you on our show. This is a very special one.
Thank you so much.
The one that we are having to mark the Ildi Kabir Festival.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we are going to be discussing something that I believe that our viewers will love to hear a lot from you. It's about risk management and internal control system. Let's not waste much time. Let us kickstart this conversation by asking, when we talk about risk management and internal control system, what do we really refer to?
Thank you so much, Dr. Odeyemi. First of all, I don't like using the word risk management. Because every time you use the word risk management, you are always talking about a particular risk, mostly credit risk. I look at the word enterprise risk management.
Okay.
The word enterprise means entity, and then what the risk management is not a technical jargon people think about. Every time you look at an opportunity, there's a risk. The other side of the opportunity is the risk. So when you're looking, every time you say, I'm a Pan-African institution, you are saying, I'm taking risk because of uncertainty. Anytime you are saying, okay, I want to be the global bank, you are easily saying, I'm taking risk in the global community. So which means every time you talk about opportunity, you're talking about risk. So when we look at the word enterprise management, what are we talking about? We're saying it's a process put in place by entity board of directors. By entity board of directors, as advised by the management and other personnel involved in strategy setting, with intention to identify potential events that can impact on activities of the institution and manage this potential event such a way that it does not affect the objective of the institution. I think you are providing us assurance that the objective of that institution, either profitability, is still intact. It's a process. But put in place by the board of directors. So when we're talking about the word enterprise management, we're talking about a process put in place by the board of directors to ensure that the organizational process, the policies, the procedure align with the intention of the owners or the directors. Many a time, the directors, the owners of business have different intention to what is being implemented. Remember, the board of directors are not there on daily basis. They are there quarterly, but the management are there on daily basis. So they are giving a guide. That is why risk management is board owned. Now, every time you have a risk, let's say for instance, I'm going to be a West African firm. I'm saying I want to be the best firm in West Africa. That is a vision. That vision say you are leaving Nigeria, you go to Ghana, you go to Sierra Leone, Francophone, West Africa, Anglophone, West Africa. They have different operating environment, they have different policies. So you are taking a risk in a different country entirely. So if you make up mind you want to do that, some people will now come up and say, okay, now that we want to go here, what can we do to ensure our investment in this country does not go down the drain, even though we are not used to it? That's what they call control.
That is a very comprehensive description of enterprise risk management, the way you put it. Enterprise risk. You also use entity risk management.
Yes.
Okay, I think the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Okay. I would like our viewers to be part of today's show, and to be part of the show, you only need to make comment or ask questions. Send your comment or question to 080-2323-1287 via text message only. I take the number again, 080-2323-1287. And for the last time, 080-2323-1287. Only text message, please, no phone calls. And when you send your text message, kindly put your name on it. You have had Mr. Oseni gave us a very comprehensive description of what enterprise risk management is all about, and he also linked it with internal control system. But let me ask this question: in what way can you say enterprise risk management and internal control system are relevant to corporate governance?
Very well. Most of the failure we have all over the world is collapse of risk management and internal control, weak controls. It's not all control that are effective. I'll give a very simple analogy for somebody. Somebody is working MITV here, and you want to go to a particular station, another side, maybe Alagbado, to do something, and you are giving cash to mobilize yourself, maybe 50,000 naira, and come back and retire. And the policy says, when you give 50,000, you are giving 30 days to retire the advance. Now, if the man didn't go, what happened? The control is that you must retire the cash advance you collect. Now, the man was supposed to go to Alagbado. Something happened. Hold on, don't go yet. Day 1, day 2, 3, 10 days. He hasn't gone. But the control was retired. So the man has not gone. He cannot retire anything. So that control is weak and failed. So in the process, somebody can do it for a bigger amount than organization. That's how management fraud are perpetrated.
If it is 50,000, it can be 50 million.
Yeah. And when such controls are weak, then it happens that the person will just, nobody remember, and that's how it goes. So internal control is critical in governance, because one of the key things about internal control is that we want to ensure internal control. It's the same process put in the place by the board of directors, just to ensure that you provide assurance in 3 key areas: the operations of the company, the reporting of the company, and the compliance. That's what COSO said. That's what they call COSO, Committee of Sponsor Organization of Treaty. Now, that's what he said. So we're saying somebody had an operation. There's a reporting. The financial reporting given to who is reviewing it, who is saying it is okay, who is approving it. Now, somebody say, okay, I've reviewed this reporting in line with IFRS 9. And maybe the person didn't know enough about IFRS 9, and certain gaps are there. And they go to Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Central Bank say, wow, who approved this report? The board member did not know this, because anything that goes out of institution is no more management, it's the board. Anything that goes out of institution is no more is board. So that is why enterprise management and internal control, according to Nigeria Code of Governance 17, is the responsibility of the board of directors to put in place sound, robust enterprise management framework and effective internal control to provide assurance that objectives are being attained. Is the board. So the moment there is a failure in the process, because in internal control you also want to ensure that there's segregation of duties. I'm not the one that will approve a transaction. I'm not the one that also will use the transaction. There is segregation of duties. And this is how, one of the problems we have in corporate failure, on most of those failures in the liver borders, there was no segregation of duties. You see this in the level border, for instance, the vice chairman is also the CEO. So you can't be holding things. So it is possible to be as the vice chairman and also be CEO and approve. You have an approving authority as the vice chairman more than the CEO. And that might not be in line with the policy, the regulatory review. So when you look at this now, the internal control is a very strong arm of risk management because you can't take risk without a control. So that's why most organizations put internal control within the ambit of the department of the group of risk management. So that as you are saying, don't just tell us this is risk, tell us how to manage it. And that is basically what it is. One of the things is that the board of directors is basically responsible to setting the enterprise management framework. And what are they setting? They said they are setting up a business. There's a vision for that business. So they will say what we call risk appetite. Now, the risk appetite is basically the amount of risk an institution is ready to take to pursue its vision, its mission, and strategy. So, if we say we want to do a business of microfinance, for instance, the risk management firm will have to come and say, okay, now we want to do what kind of risk is an high risk. So, how do we manage this risk? So, they will come up with a framework and say, okay, our appetite is that we do this certain business. Now we'll create a limit to say, okay, within this microfinance business, once our non-performing loan is more than 4%, we slow down. Those are what they call risk limits, risk trigger, just to make sure you control your risk. So the board of directors has to be the person, the management will recommend. That's why you must have a sound chief risk officer who can advise the board of directors. Now, when we come in as charter secretaries is when the CR will come to the board, make excellent presentation. Often than not, he's the only one talking the board. Many people don't know what he's talking about. Now, how do I put it into minute as a charter secretary if I don't understand that jargon? Then I will go back and meet the CRO. Please,
the CRO is Chief Risk Officer.
Yes,
right?
Chief Officer. So I'll go back to Chief Officer and say, please, can you help me? I don't understand this thing. This is your minute. And the man will put what you want. Even what he didn't present, he put it there. That is a report. That is a failure. That's a corporate failure. So how do we now, as charter secretary, provide independent assurance? How do we guide the board of directors on the report that being presented? And that is why every charter secretary must have a basic understanding of what is high risk, what is medium risk, what is low risk, because we have what we call risk matrices. So that because these are the reporting in the risk management report that goes to the board risk committee. So all these things helps the charter secretary to say, okay, fine, we can, because most often than not, charter secretary do have some meetings before the most directors to guide, to support, and things like that, to be able to provide. So it is important that the board of directors know the risk they are committing themselves to.
Okay, you have actually lectured our viewers on the relationship between enterprise risk management and corporate governance. While you were talking, you mentioned a lot about enterprise risk management framework.
Yes.
But the code, the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance actually specified, it mentioned risk management policy.
Yes.
Now, what is the purpose of risk management policy and what are the areas that the risk management policy focuses on? After that question, after answering that question, I'll be going on a very short break.
Okay. The app is from the risk appetite framework or risk strategy that policies come out. The essence of risk policy is to guide the risk takers and the risk owner. For instance, those who do the business are risk owners. The policy outlines that, okay, for this sector, once we have given a loan that is up to 50% of our portfolio, we are going to stop. It is the policy. The policy says that these are the approval. These are the process to take a risk. The policy says that any risk outside this scope, we are not going to take it. We have what is called risk tolerance. We have this appetite, because for every risk, you can either say no, or you can accept, you can reject, you can transfer. You can accept risk, you can reject risk, you can transfer, you can minimize the risk. So this one is going to be the risk policy that when the risk comes, either you reject it, When it's not outside your appetite, it's within your appetite. You look at the tolerance where maybe can we vary it, and then you say, okay, if it's tolerate the risk, then you ask yourself, the next thing is that how do you manage the risk? So the policy tell you how to identify, how to assess, how to manage, and to report the risk. That's what risk policy does for you, and tells you this is the framework, this is the threshold, this is the how to accept, this is what to do to reject. Now this is business you cannot do. Sometimes you say don't do this business. It's as good as saying don't take this risk. Now this is how to assess your risk. This is how to identify it. This is the control you must put in place, and this is how to measure it. That is not beyond what we have set for ourselves, and this is how to report it to who? To the board, to the management, and to the regulators.
Okay, thank you very much. The risk policy actually assists in identification, assessment, and how to control the risk. When we come back from this break, we'll continue our conversation with Mr. Oseni. Please don't go away.
Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
You are welcome back, and it's the Corporate Governance Platform. It's proudly brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, and we are discussing sound framework for risk management and internal control system. And Mr. Bamidele Oseni, ACIS, has been doing justice to that. He has said a lot before we went on break, and as we resume from the break, he's going to answer some of my questions. But before I go into the next question, I have this announcement from ICSAN. The announcement is from the Chairman Planning Committee for the investiture of the first female president of ICSAN, Mrs. Funmi Ekundayo, FCIS. The investiture of the next president of ICSAN will be coming up on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at Eco Hotel and Towers, Victoria Island, 11 a.m. prompt. Please note that attendance is strictly by invitation. Is the investiture of the first female president of ICSAN, Mrs. Funmi Ekundayo, and is coming up at Eco Hotel and Towers, Victoria Island on the 11th of July 2023, 11 a.m. Please, if you receive the invitation, kindly ensure that you are there. So, Mr. Oseni, you have lectured us a lot on enterprise risk management. But my next question is, you said risk should be identified, should be assessed, and should be controlled. The areas that the risk policies should focus on. Now, when risks are identified, what should the board do to reduce or to eliminate the risk?
The board should make sure they put in triggers in line with their appetites. Triggers, risk limit, risk control. That is, you set an approval process to say, okay, if you can say management have 20,000, 20 million, above 20 million, come to the board. Come to the board risk. About 25 million, go to the main board.
Okay.
Those are the controls we put in place to ensure that the management, the board is aware of what is going on. And even those the management approve, they also have to share with the board. Just to give them, because their role is oversight function.
I have one text message from Professor Samuel Akala. The prof is asking that, thank you very much, the guest, for elucidating on risk management. Yes. What is the best thing to do? Is it to have a risk management department in a company, or to rely on the committees of the board to handle risk management for the company? So the prof is asking, is it proper to have risk management department in a company, or to just rely on the risk management committee of the board?
We need to have risk management department.
It should have risk management department.
The board take an oversight. The board is not going to manage the risk on daily basis.
Okay.
You can, for the purpose of cost, you can combine risk management, internal control, depending on the size of the institution. It's allowed regulatory. You can combine with internal audits, but it must be a department.
It must have a department. Now, you have talked about setting boundaries when it comes to finance.
Yeah.
If it is 20 million, some levels of approvals.
Yeah.
Now, what do you consider to be the most critical risk in business enterprise in Nigeria?
Strategic risk.
What did you say?
Strategic risk.
How is strategic risk affect? How does it affect business?
You don't do your business without a strategy.
Okay.
Most of the business are run on strategy. And every business in this nation, all over the world, the risk they face is strategy. And I will tell you, the economic situation all over the world is changing. What happened to your strategy? What do you want to do? Strategy. So how do you go about it? So because of that, every time organization must tinker with their strategy based on the risk that is unfolding. Otherwise, there will be no business to do.
Let me refer you to a section of the Code of Corporate Governance. The code provides that the board should obtain and review periodically relevant reports and ensure the ongoing effectiveness of the company's risk management framework. Why do you think the code specifically made this provision?
Because the reason is that there are a lot of things. The board come only once in a quarter. And a lot can happen in a quarter. If I know that the limit I have as a management is 20 million, I can do 10 transactions in 5 times, 2020, instead of doing it once. So the board need to see this report to say, and set the threshold of maybe the transaction they want to see, just as a snapshot, what happened. And that's why the FD comes and say, this is what I've done the last 3 months. That's why the risk management will come and say, this is our report. They are the one that will say, okay, in the last 3 months, these are the flags, these are the limits that have been broken, these are what happened. That's why they have an idea of what is going on in the company. Because from your strategy risk, dovetail to operational risk, process, people, system. But the key, you dovetail into it. So they only have an idea of what is going on if those report comes in. They give a snapshot of the business, what is happening well, what is not happening well, and what they can do to support the institution.
Okay, the code said review periodically.
Yes.
How often should they review? Because the code did not specify any particular
At
number
least
of
quarterly.
years.
At least quarterly. Because the board sits every quarter. But
So at every point that the board sits, they must review the framework.
exactly. In fact, during the COVID time, most board was talking virtually every week.
Okay.
Because it's risk that is happening.
Okay, given the importance of risk management, what advice do you have for corporate entities in Nigeria on how to manage risk?
Number one, risk is not a buzzword. It's a way of life. I keep on telling people in my teaching, risk is meaning what can go wrong. We do it in our daily basis. We do it in our, what can go wrong in this business? What can go wrong in this system? What can we do to ensure it doesn't go wrong? What I say is that let organizations take risk management as a way of life. Don't take it as a regulatory perspective. Take it as a way of life. When you take risk management as a way of life, not that somebody will come and review whether I've complied with this rule, no. But you are saying it's a way of life, then people will better manage their risk, because you are talking about what is going to go wrong in your business and how you can ensure it doesn't go wrong. But if it goes wrong, what are you going to do to remediate it? So take it as a way of life. Very short word. Make it a culture. Let it be a culture. Let it be a way of life. That's what I mean. There's what we call risk management culture, embedded risk management culture. Let it be a way of life, people, not a talk. Walk the talk. Don't talk. Walk the talk.
Okay, I think that is the much we can take on today's conversation on framework for risk management and internal control system. You have said it all, Mr. Hosseini, that risk management should be a way of life, it should be a culture. And I think if it's a way of life, if it's a culture, should not be limited to the risk management department or the risk management committee. It should be what everybody in the organization should be involved in. Do you agree with that?
Perfectly. That's
Okay. We want to thank you very much, Mr. Bamidele Olalekan Hosseini, for coming on the show. We can see that you are an expert in enterprise risk management indeed. And for our viewers, thank you very much for being part of the show. I will end this episode with a quote from the vice chairman of IBM. He's an investment banker and a businessman. And he said, if you don't invest in risk management, it doesn't matter what business you are in, it's a risky business. By Gary Cohn, Vice Chairman, IBM. On that basis, I'd like to thank you. I invite you to join us again next week, same station, same time. I remain Dr. Tunde Odeyemi. Bye for now.
Do you have continuity or association plan for your business?
Has anyone shared the concept of sustainability with you?
What about the need to protect the rights of minority shareholders?
What are those ingredients germane to having effective meetings?
For these and many more, tune into Corporate Governance Platform every Thursday on MITV, your darling station, on DSTV 255 and UHF 43 at 4:30 p.m.
Corporate Governance Platform is your best medium for informative and educative strategies for the practice of the corporate governance profession.
Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.